What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's the post-match pint after Motherwell 0, Celtic 2 at Fir Park. We're here at Malone's in Glasgow. If you're in the area, pop in. It's a great place to watch the football, even though I was in Mo ZZ at Fir Park today. I think it might have been better watching in here today. You couldn't even see half the pitch.
Yeah, I think it would have been better. I mean, I had the privilege of paying £13 for it, but unfortunately it was the way my dad wanted to do it. So here we are, but it sounds like a great night and I'm just a bit gutted I'm not joining in with them.
Aye.
But happy to do this for you, though.
Aye. Kevin's here, as you can see. Kevin back-to-back away wins. I thought today's probably the most comfortable we've been so far this season.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Complete confidence, comfortable throughout the whole game. I think Motherwell had one chance very early on with Tony Watt putting that right across the box, and if it wasn't for Tony Ralston it could have been a totally different story. But we've managed to came out of it relatively unscathed. Two great goals, back to back, and then obviously we got a wee bit of help along the way as well, which you can never take away.
Aye, we need that. We'll maybe come to that towards the end as well. Post-match pint, by the way, I'm on the Guinness Clear. I thought we started the game, first 5-10 minutes, a bit shaky. Motherwell 2 balls right across the face of the 6-yard box early doors. We were a wee bit uncertain, but we grew into it. Yeah. And I thought, in the early stages, we had a few counter-attacks. There was a few times we could have got Motherwell. Turnbull had one where he's got options left and right, and he chooses to shoot. He's got Abada, he's got Kyogo, Jota's on the left hand side, and we kept going down the right hand side the opening 15-20 minutes. And I thought, Jota hasn't touched the ball yet, but then Kyogo wins the ball back deep, he goes into Vogic in midfield, Jota gets in behind O'Donnell, a great finish for 1-0.
I think you've also got to give a lot of credit to Tom Rogic for the pass. As much as Jota took one touch and had quite a bit of the goal to aim for, he still had to put it away, but the pass from Rogic, and it's becoming more dependent on Rogic and Kyogo as it goes along, because there's such a difference in Rogic, I think, and I could be wrong, but it's just the way I'm seeing him. He seems a lot more fitter, a lot more faster, and he is going to be integral going forward. But Kyogo again just winning the ball so deep in their own half, and I mean an absolutely clinical finish, one touch, bang. I mean it's the way you want to start the game. But just going back to the right, going down the right hand side. There was not one ball that Abada put that was on target. It was either not beat the first man or it was too far over for Jota, and it became very, very frustrating. And I think there's a little bit of confusion over what Ralston and Abada want to do. They seem very, very almost feared to take on a wide run when the other one's kind of there. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, it was a great way to start the game, because we definitely needed it.
Aye, we did. It settled us down. And I thought we took control. Obviously, Willie Collum goes off injured, which you'd love to see. It was about a 10-minute delay, right enough.
I didn't know what happened. I honestly did not know what happened.
Let Motherwell get a 10-minute tactical meeting over at the dugout. And then after that, there was a wee spell before half-time where we really shaky at the back, and I thought that was a theme in the first half today. We played really well over the piece, don't get me wrong. Played very well, but I thought there was just wee periods of the game where you can tell we're still getting to grips. Building the play from the back, and I think Starfelt in particular, he just looked so nervous. And I thought in the first half he's defending really well, right? So don't confuse that I'm just here to criticise Starfelt. He's defending really well, but I think at times on the ball in the first half today, there was one eventually it called for offside, but it bounced and he went to take control of it, and then he came back and Carter Vickers went to, and the two of them went like that for about a spell of 6 or 7 seconds. Just one easy deal with it. And at times on the ball, he's so shaky. He just looks so nervous, and it looks like an error's never too far away.
I think the whole defence today looked just a bit shaky until we got that goal, and that calmed us down a bit. I think Bolingoli grew into the game. He had little bits of good little bits of good play, but there was like a 10-15 minute spell the first opening period where he was not any pass was going straight to a Motherwell player. He wasn't beating a man. He wasn't making the runs for Jota, which time and time again Jota was telling him to make the run. But he did go into the game. But I still think once we get Julian back, that they'll just add that little bit more of steel that we need to the backline, because it's still very frigid.
Well, that was the next point I was going to make about Julian. He's back in training. We expect to see him maybe in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Do you think he's going to come straight back into the team once he's up to speed and once he's fit? And do you expect it to be for Starfelt or Carter Vickers, would you think?
I think it'll be for Starfelt. That right away, I think it'll be for Starfelt. I think Carter Vickers looks a lot more assured on the ball. He does have his moments, but I think if you had to pick either or, I think you're going with Carter Vickers there. He just seems that little bit more assured. I think Starfelt, with all the greatest respect to him, is a bit of a bomb scare still. And I don't know if that's just the way that he plays and he just gets on with it and he gets away with it. But I think Julian will come back into the team. I think for what we paid, the money that we paid for him, he has to be playing. And I think he will be very, very important going forward as well, because we need a little bit more depth. Again, it's still the same team. You're just like, how far can it go before they just burn out? You know, after the international break, Tom Rogic and Kyogo played a game together and start the game. It's just, it's there's going to become a point where it just hits a crescendo and then we just
good to see Johnston back today off the bench. Giacomakis come on as well. Giacomakis should have scored at the end, by the way. He cut that one back. He's one-on-one with the keeper. We talked about Kyogo. Quiet, I thought, over the spell that he was on. I think he came off about 75 minutes. But the touches that he had in the game were so effective. And he doesn't need to be in the game constantly. He just pops up, he wins the ball back and starts to move for the opening goal. But I just thought, like, he was so effective in what he did do.
I thought it was great to see that he is willing to come back. He's not just all about speed and just trying to, be a menace up at the front of the pitch. He's actually annoying them at the other side of the pitch, and it's a great tackle. I mean, there's absolutely no qualms about it, and it's good to see that Turnbull, Rogic, Abada, Jota, they all make the run. They sprint for him because they know that he's came back, and I thought when you see that in full flow, it's just such a nice thing to see. And as I say again, I know the keeper does give him a bit of space. There is quite a gap for him at the near post, but you still have to finish it, and it's a great goal. And I think we've got to really look into the fact that Jota could be an important player for years to come and not go down the El Anusi route where we're just like, what's happening here? We need to get this boy in.
We've got the clause with Jota, but we didn't have that. Well, you saying, I think, as I said, like today, a lot of people on Twitter and talking to people, they're dying for it. Like, just pay the money now. But it doesn't matter if we pay. No point paying the money now. The clause is there. So at the end of the season, we've got first refusal, and I think he is looking good. He's first couple of games, I thought he was bright and he looked a threat, but maybe his end product. But I thought in the recent games, last month and today again, he's probably the pick of the bunch for us. I mean,
he maybe just needed a bit of time to adjust, but he's certainly grown arms and legs into it. I mean, he got the winner at Pittodrie, he got the first goal today. That's what you're wanting a winger to do. It's that finish today is a classic winger's finish, and it's something that we've been missing over the last 18 months. But as I say, I can't wait to see what else he can do.
I think he's going to be really, really important for us, and as I say, output for a winger, so important, and he's doing that just now. The second half, I think we cruised the second half. I think Turnbull, who started the game pretty poorly. I mentioned his decision making with the early counter attack, but gave the ball away a couple of times against his old club. First time he's played back at Fir Park for Celtic, certainly in front of a crowd anyway, and then the goal, we know he's got that in his locker. He does it so often. Strikes across the ball into the far corner, it just fades away into the far top right corner. Brilliant.
The weirdest thing about it, there's not that much power on it. It just has enough height to take it away from Liam Kelly, and people are saying, oh, was it a deflection? No, that's a contender for goal of the month right away. Maybe even goal of the season, because I mean, for him to be so poor at the start, because he just wasn't clicking, and he still hasn't really clicked, I don't think. I think there's just something missing where it's just a bit of confidence just to be that more consistent. I think with Motherwell you can kind of almost get away with it, like have the hat trick, then have a poor game, then get the goal, and etc, etc. But I think he just maybe needs an arm around the shoulder and say, it's going to be okay, you are a good player, you just need to come and maybe work on it. But what a goal. And I think then, I know it's easy to say now, but it was effectively 3 points secured then.
We really cruised it in the second half. I thought McGregor was brilliant today, particularly in the second half again, just really controlled the pace of the game. It's so good that we talked about how much we missed Kyogo last month, but we missed McGregor big time when he did as well.
McGregor's just that vital cog. He's like the boiler room player. He just mops up everything. He's always looking to go forward. He's always turning, twisting, looking for that pass. He never dilly-dallies on the ball. And I think last season, I know I keep coming back to it, that's what he done so much. It was just always go back, it was go forward. And I think McGregor is, at the start, he wasn't great. I think it was just maybe just tiredness as well. But he's kind of slowly but surely coming into it.
I was talking to a few of the guys outside the stadium. Obviously we came into this game today in 6th position after 8 games, which is a bit mental because we lost the first 3 away games. Good win today, we've moved up to 4th. Rangers drop points as we alluded to earlier on as well. The gap there's 4 now. Dundee United and Hearts still above us, but we are the top scorers in the league. With the momentum, you see the scenes at the end again today. The captain, the manager, you can tell the fans are really behind what's happening. Do you think we're going to see a correction and we can really move up the table now? Because that's what we need. We need to build momentum. These 2 back-to-back away wins at Pittodrie and at Fir Park are massive for us, and we can push on.
I know it's such a cliche, but this could be a pivotal moment in the season. I'm not saying we're going to just romp away with the league now, but I think the scenes at the end of today, it's not something we've seen. Even at Pittodrie, it was a little bit more mellow than what it was, whereas there today, you could certainly see the connection and seem to enjoy it. His after-match comments to Radio Clyde certainly shut them up, shall we say. He was calling them mate with almost a panache with them. So I think Hibs away though is absolutely massive for us. Massive. And if we win that, I think then that's the springboard. We've got to the level now, we just need to go with it, and that is going to be absolutely vital. And it's going to be some atmosphere at Easter Road. 20,000 will be walking on a Wednesday night under the lights.
Wednesday night we'll get St Johnstone. Next weekend we'll get Ferencváros to come before that, obviously. But I think that game at Easter Road is going to be huge because of where we're sitting just now. The away form up until Pittodrie, but also our record at Easter Road in recent years is terrible. Still haven't won there since 2014. So that game is going to be massive for us. But think ahead to Tuesday. I was going to say Tuesday night there. Think ahead to Tuesday afternoon. How do you see that game? Do you think it's must win for us in terms of trying to progress in Europe? Again, a couple of guys outside the stadium today like that, to be honest, and not really that fussed about Europe.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it, and I know that's such a terrible answer to give in a post-match pint, but I think if we want to progress in the Europa Conference League, yes, it's massive. If we want to progress in the league, it's not the biggest disaster. Hibs is much more bigger when you consider the prize at the end.
And St Johnstone.
and St Johnstone, sorry. St Johnstone as well, sorry. No respect to them, but in the terms of an away performance, I think the home form is decent enough that we'll get the victory, but that game against Hibs is going to be absolutely massive. And I think if you were to ask the majority of Celtic fans today at Fir Park or who was watching at home, I think they would say Hibs is the bigger game. You know, as much as I want to beat Ferencváros, I just want to put that out there. It's
a bit of a conundrum for people. I see both sides of it as well, because I think Celtic's measuring stick should be European football. We should be constantly trying to progress in European football, test ourselves at the highest level we can, try and get better as a club on that stage. But I do see it from the point of view that this season we've got it all on to just sort our shit out domestically. But these wins are good, and they do build momentum for us. In terms of the team for Tuesday, do you see any changes today? Bolingoli, you mentioned them earlier, and I said today it's maybe the best left back performance we've seen this season, because there's been a lot of like Taylor was in for most of it. Montgomery's been in, and they've both done alright in spells, but I thought Bolingoli done well today, and we know that there's a mistake can sometimes never be too far away with him, but it's weird because he played at Livingston. He never barely in squads before Livingston, then starts, then disappears again, then starts today. I don't think he's even in the Europa League squad, so he's going to drop out again. So who do you think is going to play there on Thursday? Montgomery?
It's got to be Montgomery, but then we know obviously Montgomery has kind of peaks and troughs of a game, but Bolingoli, I mean, he's such a weird player to watch at times, because we were so used, and this is, I always go back to it, we were so used to Kieran Tierney bombing up and down the wing, and I think obviously our loyalties kind of lay a lot bigger with Kieran Tierney for obvious reasons. But the fact of the matter is, he was a world-class player, and he's now proven it. Okay, he's at Arsenal and it's not going great, but he's still there and he's still doing great for Scotland when we need him. But to go from that to Bolingoli, it's going to be a bit of a shock to the system for any Celtic fan. But who else is going to come in? Greg Taylor's still out. We're not exactly the biggest fans of him at certain points. I mean, we had Black Salt last season. They had 2 great games, and then I think just slid under Neil Lennon's fitness regime, if truth be told. But I think it's got to be Montgomery, and I think you've just, again, it comes to squad depth.
See the last one in terms of Tuesday. We went back to McGregor, Turnbull, Rogic in midfield today. Beaton came on for Rogic, been about 60-65 minutes. McGregor moved up one. On Thursday, do you go with Turnbull and Rogic, or do you let McGregor move up one and put a more defensively minded player like Beaton in there, despite the fact?
If you
Knows
play
what he's
Beaton in his right position, then yes, but don't play him at centre half. Like don't play him at right
Well,
back.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Beaton is the 6, so
Yeah,
to speak.
play him in that holding role, because I think McGregor is a very good player and he's attack minded as well when he has that freedom to roam about the pitch, and he can often get you a goal. So I think you could be here all night with that one. Really, you could be, but it's hard to disagree against Rogic because I think he was absolutely instrumental today and just a great team performance. Turnbull, yes, he had the goal, which was fantastic, but he's still not. It's okay scoring the goals, but you need to obviously contribute a lot more than that. And I know that sounds stupid, but I think you get what I mean.
Like all-round performance.
All-round performance needs to improve if we're going to, as you say, compete in Europe and get these wins away from home and improve at home form.
Yeah. Anything else you want to cover for the day and that stood out before we finish up?
Depends if you talk about the...
No, just the game.
Just the game, just the game.
Just our game.
Well, I mean, what I call him, going off injured, I did not know what that was about. That referee had never refereed a championship game before and get thrown in right at the deep end.
I thought he didn't know the handball rule for a second
because
at a stage of the second half, because Motherwell player handballed it and he was going to let play continue for about 5 seconds and then he went, oh no, right, is that the rule?
But then on the other flip side as well, Bolingoli did clearly handball that one.
Well, I haven't seen it back.
I did.
I only seen it one time at the game and it was up the other end.
It's a slap. It's like a high five of the ball up, and I know people are disagreeing with me, but
most of the time, David's behind the camera's disagreeing with me. Most of the time,
and he's disagreeing with me right now. But I think the hand is in an unnatural position.
With handballs, you can usually tell by the reaction.
Yeah.
Of the players, and the reaction in the stands from Motherwell fans was quite severe. And then we broke up the other end at a corner, and there was still players surrounding the referee. So I thought maybe, but I couldn't tell at the game.
No.
There you go. That's it for the post-match pint today. Like this video, comment your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you during the week for the build-up to Ferns Faroes. Cheers.